Okay, I think we got 5 minutes to go. Trying to bring the commander in right now, so stay with us while we work through this. All right, we're still working through this. Send a message to the commander, know he's standing by, so we can connect in here and answer some questions with us. Right, I got it up on the split screen on my end too, so I can directly answer your questions. All right, invitation has been sent. I haven't seen you click in yet, sir. Okay, about 1 minute. Got your message, says you're on. No split screen. I'll get it posted out here real quick and we'll draw a doodle face. We'll throw it up there. All right, 1300 right now. So, I'm Sergeant Major Justin Cole. I'm with the Recruiting and Retention Battalion with the Idaho Army National Guard. And current situation, obviously we don't have to brief anybody. If you're watching this, you watch the news, you kind of see what's going on. As a Recruiting and Retention Battalion, this is where things get a little tricky because, you know, everyone's kind of been joking. They've been talking about what's mission essential, what isn't mission essential. For recruiting and retention, our job is to, you know, in a nutshell, if you scrape everything off the top, our job is to find interested parties and walk them through the enlistment process, and then, you know, through MEPS, through the paperwork, get them the job that they want, benefits, entitlements, and then get them to training and bring them back to Idaho as a trained soldier. You know, and the issue that you're running into now is because we currently have this pandemic that's going on, and so it's kind of slowing the process down. It's putting a halt to some services altogether, and it's creating these kind of reoccurring questions for us. And I'll tell you that things have been changing. Don't want to use the term drastic, but things have been changing so rapid fire that, you know, the information that we get and that we put out on Monday, typically by Tuesday afternoon, it's old news, and they've made a change to how we're sending people to training, how we are processing people down in MEPS. So what we wanted to do is, you know, earlier this week we pushed out a letter that we kind of sent to all the RSP kids, and we were hoping that kind of touched the families as well, so we can get some of their immediate questions answered. But we also wanted to do this Facebook Live portion of this too, so we can start answering questions directly. So what we'll do here is I've got the actual letter that the commander put out, signed by Lieutenant Colonel Brady Johnson. He is the Recruiting Retention Commander. And I'm just going to go through it, and I'll read it from start to finish. We'll go nice and slow. And then when we're done, if you have any questions, we can start answering some of your questions, and we'll go from there. So the Army National Guard, and it says, to the soldiers and families in the Idaho Army National Guard Recruitment Sustainment Program. I write to you in a time of great challenge and change for our nation and our state. In these very trying times, Command Sergeant Major Cole and I thank you for your decision to serve the great state of Idaho and the nation through service in the Idaho Army National Guard. In communities across the state, we all share common difficulties and challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. In this time of uncertainty, I encourage you to stay the course with your decision to join the Idaho Army National Guard. To borrow from Franklin D. Roosevelt, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. The Idaho National Guard is adapting to the changing conditions brought upon the nation and the world. All measures to protect the Idaho Army National Guard and military are being taken serious by the Department of Defense. Basic training sites are taking aggressive precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The military entrance processing station is taking extreme measures to ensure the health of those shipping to basic training, and for those who cannot ship now, ensuring all the benefits and bonuses stay in place while alternate training dates are being negotiated. The health and safety of the soldiers is our primary task while continuing to maintain a strong national defense. As displayed by the actions taken by the governor, the Idaho Army National Guard is now being used in limited numbers to supplement and assist in the efforts to combat this invisible enemy. As a world, nation, and state has become evident, the interdependence that we have on each other, each of you and your families acknowledge this even before this crisis by choosing to be a part of the Idaho Army National Guard. In order for us to move forward, we must continue to move in a common, disciplined, and dedicated effort. This has been exhibited over and over again during times of war, local tragedy, as well as times of plenty and prosperity. As we face the hard days that lie ahead of us, let us continue to do it unified. Your membership here and now in this great effort continue to set you apart as leaders and those willing to make a difference. Stay the course. Stay the course with us, knowing that you are important to your families, the state of Idaho, and the National Guard family. And it was signed Lieutenant Colonel Brady B. Johnson. So Now, if you got on there and you saw our post, we listed some of the top things that we wanted to discuss while we were going to go live with you. And just kind of in a nutshell, if you take a look at it, we just kind of on the surface, we just rough touched everything that we wanted to hit on. So what we'll do here is we'll switch out and we'll talk about some of the topics that we listed on our earlier post. So Idaho Army National Guard. So what's important to remember here is that our recruiters go out and they're shaking hands and they're meeting people on a regular basis. And our recruiters, some of them, have been in this organization for a decade. I myself have been in the recruiting and retention battalion, various assets as a recruiter, operations, did some time training for about 15 years. So, you become vested in something like that. The Army National Guard has spent a lot of time, effort, money training us to be subject matter experts. So you have this ownership and you have this this pride that you feel in recruiting and making every attempt to increase the state's end strength, but more importantly, to breed that trust in the community. Like, we are the organization that you should absolutely want to be a part of. So, some of the values that we have in the RSP program, and you can go back to the 7 Army values if you want, but probably the core foundation is just going to be trust. It's going to be trust in the non-commissioned officers that are doing the training, and it's and trust in the people that are willing to raise their right hand and serve with you. So, it's not falling on deaf ears. We've had to stop what we were doing, and we've had to cancel our drill training this month and intentionally delay or suited the training for next month as well. You just don't know. And so you could be sitting at home and you could be saying, okay, a month ago I raised my right hand to the Idaho Army National Guard, then communication just kind of went silent. There's no drills taking place. Our ship dates have come and gone. So what you need to know from the command team and to everybody in the recruit sustainment program, everybody that belongs to our battalion, you have tremendous value to us. And it's the personal relationships that are the most important. So when we get information, we push that information out. And we get it out through the RSP NCOs, our NCOs. We send out group texts. So, we really try to get that information out and get it out to you, to the families, as fast as we can. And then sometimes it's 3 or 4 information, for lack of a better term, information dumps takes place from either MEPCOM or NGB. And we have to sift through that information, see how it's going to affect us, see what kind of changes it's going to make, and then we have to push that information out as well. So I'll tell you that's probably about the last 10 to 15 days. It has been back-to-back conference calls, emails. It's kind of, everyone's burning the candle at both ends and doing everything that we can to stay ahead of, this ever-evolving environment that we're currently operating in. So, but as far as, an RSP soldier and RSP family in our organization, it's absolutely essential that you feel valued and you feel important to us. So, we have multiple social media platforms. And, the last few days we've put out different ways that you can reach out and you can get a hold of us. We've set out, a WhatsApp QR code, or I know that each of your individual recruiters have their own social media platform that they operate off of. And really, if that's where you're most comfortable, then that's what you use. If you want to message us through our Facebook site, do that. If you want to message us through Instagram, Snapchat, whatever platform makes you feel the most comfortable, then do it. Send us a message, and we will answer your questions immediately. And if you look back through some of the posts here on this Facebook page, you'll see that we send a QR code out. It's colored green, says WhatsApp on it. That goes directly to my phone. So as an RSP family member, if you want answers, send a message right there. Hover your phone over it. You're going to hold me directly, and I will effort to answer your question as quickly as I can. So and that's really right now, because the times are changing as much as they are. That's really the best way that we can show the value that you have to us is ensuring that we get your questions answered, and we maintain this open communication with you as much as possible. So let's talk about some training seat renegotiations. So basically what's happened is when the governor put out the kind of shelter-in-place order that went out a few days ago that he signed, I think it was actually last Friday, so coming up on a week ago, what NGB did and what MEPCOM did is they kind of started to view our state as a potential hot zone. And even though we don't have a lot of cases here, the goal is to take every proactive step that we can to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect Idaho's sons and daughters in the thing that is the largest commodity for us, which is our families. So we stopped shipping to training bases. But what that does is that ends up canceling, your ship date. Now, if in normal circumstances, if you choose as an RSP soldier to not ship, not like it's an open choice that really you should be making, but let's say something happens and we have to cancel your ship date, there is a potential for you to lose all the benefits and the bonuses and the things that you signed on for. So we want to dispel that right now. Is when we renegotiate these training seats, you're not going to lose any of those benefits that you signed on for. So like right now, we just switched quarters. April 1st is the beginning of what we call our third quarter of our recruiting year. In every quarter, we change the MOSs that we offer bonuses for. So let's say you joined 10 days ago in second quarter and you got a $20,000 bonus for being a 68 Whiskey Combat Medic, right? You come to this quarter and maybe it's not listed now. You're not going to lose any of those benefits that you signed on for as we renegotiate your training seats because of having to cancel because of this pandemic that's happening. So we want to assure you right now that if you signed on the dotted line and you had a bonus and you have the addendum paperwork that says you're getting a bonus for this MOS, provided you give us the 6 years that's set in the contract, if we have to renegotiate the contract and if we don't get to ship you because of the changes that are taking place, you're going to be fine. So those things that you signed for originally are going to be the things that you're going to get in the long run. So just want to make sure that you understand there's no loss of benefits. So along those lines too, we've had to kind of alter our training plan every single month. Now, when you join and you come into the RSP and you do all the check-in and you get going, what happens is you are, as a National Guard soldier, you're the 1 week in the month that you do prior to shipping to basic training, you end up with benefits that cover you. You have healthcare benefits that you sign on for, and if you don't go to drill for that month, you end up incurring a debt. And we want you to know that we've set these things in place, these steps in place to make sure that you get credit for some sort of training on the drill weekend, and so those debts don't hit you, so you don't go to basic training being X number of dollars in the hole. So your RSP NCOs should be reaching out to you, and if they haven't this week, they're finalizing the plans through their NCOICs. But we're going to have a virtual online training plan set up for you where we can talk about those red face training things and those white face training tasks, and your involvement in that online training and your involvement in this virtual training program that we're doing here is what's going to give you credit for that. So at the end of the day, you don't incur a debt and end up shipping to basic training later owing X number of dollars for not attending training. So I know we've had probably 6 or 7 questions specifically about that this last week, so we want to make sure that's kind of what's going on. So we've been asked, why are the recruiters still holding conversations? Why are our recruiters reaching out virtually online, talking to people, trying to schedule, email signatures and requesting applicants to show up at MEPS, to go down to MEPS and process if we're in the middle of this, maintain 6 feet, maintain your distance. So kind of want to dispel some of the, potential exposure at MEPS rumors. And there's, if we had exposure at MEPS to COVID-19, it would be shut down. So it's a pretty rigorous process that all applicants, and the applicant is somebody that hasn't enlisted yet but is in the process and going to MEPS and going through that process to raise their right hand to serve their country. So this process for those applicants is pretty substantial, So typically they would, your recruiter's going to tell you, hey, I'm going to need you to check into the hotel, because everybody's going to have to stay at the hotel. So you check into the hotel on the day before you're supposed to show up to MEPS, and they've got a process down there to take your temperature there and see if you are exhibiting any of the signs for COVID-19. And then the next morning when you wake up nice and early and you have that oh so delicious breakfast, and you're supposed to get on the transport and go to MEPS so you can start going through the physical process and having your hearing tested and your eyes tested, they're going to take your temperature again, and they're going to look you over and make sure that you are not exhibiting any signs of the coronavirus. So it's pretty substantial, and they're actually constantly taking your temperature. And so when we take a look at why are we sending people down to MEPS during this time, or are we violating the 6-foot rule, or groups larger than 10? So it's those things just aren't taking place when you're heading down to MEPS. So we've put every step that we could to detect anybody that is possibly showing signs of COVID-19. And so when you go down, when RSP applicants go down, when you drive down to MEPS and you go to handle your enlistment ceremony, it's safe, and it's not something that you have to worry about. So you're not going to get exposed to COVID-19 down at MEPS. So the training bases. I guess one of the things that we want to say right up front is, the training bases that you go to, the Fort Jackson, Fort Leonard Wood, Fort Sill, these training bases where you actually enter into your initial active duty training period, and you're going to basic and sometimes AIT all in one shot. People are asking, our sons and our daughters are coming from all over the nation, and they're all being kind of rounded up and sent into one location. And how dangerous is that? Isn't that a recipe for potential infection? And really, this one of the safest places that you can be is at basic combat training right now. So when your sons and daughters decide to get on the plane and they go and they ship and they go to basic training, everybody gets tested at the basic training sites. So, and their exposure is relatively low there. And if somebody is exposed, they're immediately quarantined. And anybody that's come in contact with that person is quarantined. If you get onto social media platforms, you can actually go to the Facebook pages and the Twitter accounts that belong to these training bases. And they're updating these things regularly. And I'm talking like every 45 minutes. Even the deputy commanding generals for these training bases are on there, posting pictures of the steps that are being taken to protect our trainees when they show up. So they're going above and beyond. And that really, that ends up lengthening their training day a little bit. But it's about, protecting our most valued commodity, our children, or, our sons and our daughters and our members of Idaho. So I assure you, and you don't have to take my word for it, you can get on social media. They're doing Facebook Live updates just like this. I mean, you can actually get in there and talk directly to the commanding general down at one of the TRADOC bases if you want to, and ask him direct questions. So it's really kind of an unprecedented time when you have these questions that you need answered, or you feel like you want answered right away. There's people that are standing by and they're ready to answer those questions for you. So, like I said, when it comes to training bases, exposure is relatively low. If somebody is exposed, they're quarantined immediately. They remove them from training. And really, from the things that we've seen, the training base is probably one of the safest places that your sons and your daughters can be during this time, because of all the control measures that are taking place. So, we talk about the 7 Army values too. So, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. This time, right now, currently what we're operating under, this pandemic for the coronavirus, this time is testing every single one of those. As a potential trainee, as an applicant, as somebody that wants to serve in the military, and you have made the decision, and Idaho is your first choice, and you want to serve your state, you want to serve your community, and you want to be a member of the United States Army and serve in the Idaho Army National Guard, you raise your right hand. We understand what kind of commitment that is, and we understand the kind of commitment that takes, especially now. When we're looking at you and you're up at MEPS and you're signing on the dotted line and you're making a decision, okay, my ship date's in May, is this pandemic going to be done in May? We know that takes a tremendous amount. So those 7 Army values, we often like to say during initial training, red phase on RSP weekends or red phase at basic training, that you're going to get the 7 Army values, and you'll be made to understand them, and they will be ingrained in you. Well, you already exhibit those when you raise your right hand, so that stuff is not lost on us. So, every one of my recruiters in the battalion and everybody that gets up every single day and is answering the questions to the applicants, to their soldiers that enlisted, it means a tremendous amount to us. So one of the last things that I want to talk about here before we open it to questions is kind of service in a crisis. So your service in the Idaho Army National Guard, we are federally funded and we're state funded. And one of the defining characteristics is, when you raise your right hand in Idaho, you get to serve here. You go to training, you go to active duty, but you come back, you serve here. And you become, a pretty connected and integral part of your community. So your service in a crisis, just by joining the Army National Guard, that means everything. So our availability, like right now, the governor signed that proclamation, which gave us the ability to activate a few soldiers if they need help at the food bank or whatever. That's there, and we're standing by for whatever the governor needs, and that can be you. That can be you as an RSP soldier, and you put on your uniform and you serve the community. I'm sure you've seen the videos, and you can go to nationalguard.com, or you can click into ours and you can see all the videos, and it's just no other branch of service gives you that. You don't get on a plane and go away for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and you're helping, in a different location. You're living on a training base someplace else. And, when you join the Idaho Army National Guard, you're going to go to training, but you're going to come back here. And your efforts are going to be here. And your community, and working in your community, and protecting your community, and doing the things you need to for your community, that's going to be our number one focus, but it'll be your number one focus too. So, when it comes down to serving in the middle of a crisis, this is kind of our time right now when we see what's going on. So, it's, I don't know, it's a good deal when you choose to join in the Idaho Army National Guard and you really select us where you're, become your first choice. It's a pretty important decision. So I'm kind of looking at the chat here, and I haven't seen too many questions come in, so I'll open it up. Somebody wants to ask some direct questions, we can answer them. Okay. All right, so I just got asked job vacancies. What jobs currently do we have, and what kind of bonus are they authorized to give? So I'm going to go down. I'm going to list the job vacancies, and I'll tell you. And basically everything that I'm going to list right now comes with a $20,000 sign-on bonus. So, but we've got 11 Bravo infantrymen, 12 Bravo combat engineer, 13 Fox Fire Support Specialist, 25 Uniform Signal Support System Specialist, 91 Alpha, which is the M1 Abrams mechanic, tank mechanic, 91 Delta Generator Repair, 91 Mike Bradley mechanic. Bradley's kind of a smaller tank. 92 Alpha Automated Logistical Specialist, 92 Fox Petroleum Supply Specialist, 92 Golf Food Service Specialist, 13 Romeo Firefinder Radar Operator, 25 Sierra Satellite Communication Systems Operator, 89 Bravo Ammunition Specialist, 91 Charlie Utilities Equipment Repair, 91 Juliet Quartermaster Chemical Equipment Repair, 92 Whiskey, which is a Water Treatment Specialist, and 92 Echo Radio and Communications Security Repair. So typically we do a top 10 plus 5, but National Guard Bureau has authorized us to go up to 17 jobs for this next quarter. So those were the 17 that I listed. Each one of those comes with a $20,000 sign-on bonus. And when they pay out the bonus, it's paid out over the span of 5 years. You can go to basic training, AIT, you're going to come back, you receive your first payment. And then provided you remain in good standing through the entire time of your 6-year contract, meaning you pass height and weight, you can maintain your PT standards, you go to drill, look good in uniform, don't show up with a ponytail, stuff like that, then you're going to get a regular paycheck every year on your anniversary month of joining. So it's kind of like a little savings deposit that dumps into your checking account once a year over 5 years. So it's pretty good. Now those jobs that I listed, those aren't the only jobs, but they are the ones that offer the $20,000 sign-on bonus. So typical MEPS process. If I was reading that right, hang on a second. Can I detail the MEPS process? So the enlistment process is what I think you're saying here. So really, what you would do, especially now during this time, is reach out through these social media platforms and start a conversation with a recruiter. Okay, that's really your best bet. What I would do is send a message either through this Facebook app, through Instagram. As you can tell, my eyes keep switching because these questions are coming in and I don't want to lose them. Start a conversation. Tell us where you live, what you're interested in, and when you're available to talk. And we will get the recruiter in your area to reach out, send you a message, and start having a conversation with you. And then through that process, the recruiter will walk you through it, give you all the details that you need, and really it comes down to taking and qualifying for an ASVAB test. And then after the ASVAB test, you got to go down and take a physical. And then after you pass the physical, you go down and loosely get to select your ship date. Typically, it's really hinging on when the training bases are allowing that MOS to go through training. But you have a little bit of control when you get the ship. We take things into consideration like college students. We're not gonna ship you in the middle of your semester. High school students, obviously, we can't ship you, February. But really, when it comes down to the MEPS process, we put it in kind of 4 bullet points. It takes some time. It's paperwork. It takes a little bit. They dig into your background, but like I said, send us a message, get a hold of these recruiters, and they'll answer all your questions directly about that. So a couple questions that I saw. So how's the National Guard called up for duty? Called up for duty in the state? Well, it comes down to the governor. The governor makes the decision, since he is our commander-in-chief in the state. When we are not working directly for the president, then our commander-in-chief is the Idaho governor. And he signs, proclamations, puts orders in, kind of like he did last Friday, authorizing the use of X number of Army National Guard troops, and it is what it is. And then he just kind of points and tells us what direction. And he listens. I read this earlier when I was on social media, but one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to kind of circumnavigate or not circumnavigate. You don't want to circumvent your commanders on the ground. So he listens to his elected officials. He listens to the mayors of all the cities in the state, and they'll ask him for help, and he'll sign a proclamation, and he'll kind of point in the direction he wants the Army National Guard to go help, and whatever that looks like, it is. If you've been on social media the last 15 days, you'll see National Guardsmen helping at grocery stores. You'll see them helping at food banks. You'll see them delivering lunches. So it just really comes down to whatever the governor decides. So somebody asked, so no one is shipping as long as we're under the shelter and at home order. So the short answer is yeah, typically we are not supposed to ship when we are under a shelter at home order, but kind of the Department of Defense's thing is when the governor says shelter at home, they just kind of blanket shut everybody down. And we only have a couple of counties in the state that really have a lot of the coronavirus cases. So, and it becomes imperative that we continue to ship people. And like we said earlier, basic training sites and AIT sites are really safe, for your sons and daughters to go to. But so, like next week, for instance, we got notified early today that we had the ability to ship a couple people to training at some point next week. So we're going through those steps to make that happen. They identified that the soldiers aren't coming out of counties that that are really showing like a large community spread. And provided they go down and they don't have any signs and they're tested and everything's fine, then they can ship the training. So, but yeah, the short answer is typically no when we're under shelter-in-place order. We can't, but they're kind of taking the whole state into consideration for the decision. So, okay, what is the likelihood that the Army National Guard will get called up to assist from an RSP soldier? And if so, how will be utilized? I think right now, in the last 7 days, we went from 2,800, and this is national numbers, this is not Idaho, but nationally, we went from 2,800 soldiers being kind of activated by their governor to assist in whatever they needed, up to 18,300 over 7 days. So whatever the governor makes a decision on, whatever he decides to do, obviously, we are here. We are his defense force. We are here for the community at his kind of beck and call if he needs us. But the short answer would be we would do whatever he needs us to do. So kind of the thing that we always tell when you sit down with a recruiter, he's like, feast, famine, flood. So if there's a flood, there's a famine, it doesn't matter what it is. If the governor needs our assistance in any way, shape, or form, he can say, go, do, make this happen. Take care of this community. I need you guys to sandbag during this flood. We've got fires going on, up in this section of the state. You guys are going to take, you guys will be, traffic control up there for, the EMT personnel. So it's whatever he wants. And as an RSP soldier, what you need to remember is an RSP soldier, the only thing that you are really on the hook for, that you need to be focused on, is going to training and coming back and be a qualified soldier. So as an RSP soldier, would you be called up? No. So, and really, we don't have these red bat phones that ring in the middle of the night and the governor calls us all directly and says, hey, I need you and 10 of your boys to show up. We're going to do sandbags. It's really not how it goes. They want you to be a completely qualified soldier, so basic training and AIT qualified. So as an RSP soldier, the phone call typically won't come to you. No one will say, hey, do you want to volunteer for this? It's just not going to happen because we need to remain focused on getting you gone to training and getting you back to be a qualified soldier for Idaho. So I hope that answers your question. If we are scheduled to ship out April 12th, what is the likelihood we will make that date? So Department of Defense and NGB really, they shut down 50% of the shipping nationwide. So on April 12th, if you were supposed to ship on a Monday, you're most likely not shipping on a Monday. If you were scheduled to ship on a Tuesday, you may be selected to ship on a Tuesday. So when it comes to shipping, it's 50% right off the top gets cut. And there's no, the way they broke it down, I think it was completely random. So the bottom line here is that we won't know until probably 72 hours before April 12th if we still get to ship somebody. So I know that doesn't give you a whole lot of time to react. It's not the best case scenario, but again, this, we don't handle, this isn't how we handle business. So if this pandemic wasn't going on and the coronavirus wasn't currently all encompassing for us, essentially what would be going on is you would know 30 days in advance. You'd have your orders, you'd have your plane tickets, your RSP NCO would be briefing you, would be meeting you, talking to you about basic training bases, showing you pictures of what it looks like in the airport so you don't get lost when you fly. But this is really a different time right now. So like I said, 72 hours you should know before you ship on April 12th. So next question. Just got here, so if this was already asked or answered, if a soldier is scheduled to ship next Sunday, April, okay, yep. Just push that out on the April 12th. These are completely different times. We will know about 72 hours ahead if you're going to get the ship or not. NGB is reacting. I get emails at all hours of the night. This morning they started at about 2:45 from NGB, which is 4:45 their time, but every RR, every recruiting and retention command is up nationwide when these emails are hitting. So the commander and I were answering emails this morning at about 2:45. If they were on the West Coast, they were answering them at 1:45 in the morning because that's what needs to happen. So communication is key. So, and again, if you're going days and days without communication, if you're not talking to your recruiting and retention NCOs, not because they don't care, your RSP NCOs, I am talking to them no less than 6 times a day, and I'm sending them, RFIs, requests for information that are coming down from NGB. So we are tasking them 12, 14, 16 hours a day to get us information. And oftentimes the information we ask at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's completely different. And they want something else at 1600 in the afternoon. So bear with us. But if you're not getting any answers, reach out to us directly. We will answer your question. So next question. I haven't been handed off to my unit yet. Is there a possibility if we do get activated that I will get activated with them, or would I have to wait for my last RSP before it's all possible? Thank you. So that was from Alan Fritzmeyer. So if you're back from basic training in AIT, the only reason you haven't checked in yet is because the governor signed that, no large groups, kind of a maintain your distance, 6 feet. We're all doing everything that we can to, decrease the curve or lower the curve or whatever it is. So what's important here is that we're tracking that you're back, and the RSP NCO most likely asked you for your paperwork from the basic training site so we can have it. Your unit is tracking that you're back, but we're not going to drive you and shake hands and introduce you to your unit because of what's going on right now. If your unit gets activated, they're tracking you. They tracked you the day you enlisted, and we have to talk to the units and beg them not to send you emails so you only have one point of contact as you go through basic and AIT. But I assure you they're tracking you, and if they need your help, first they'll contact us, and then they'll contact you. So yeah, there is a possibility. And just to be super clear here, when it comes down to this, they're going to ask for volunteers. So like I said, there's no super secret bat phone that we pick up in the middle of the night and it's all secretive and people halo jump out of the sky and black cars show up in the middle of the night. None of that happens. So they ask for volunteers first, and if your unit is asked and there's people in your unit that volunteer, somebody will come to you and will notify you, and you'll have the opportunity to volunteer. Again, if you're basic training and AIT qualified. Okay, if we get COVID-19 cleared up by July, would people who lost their ship dates take priority, or would my contract that currently says July 27th hold? Okay, so if you have a current ship date right now, let's say your ship date says June 11th, we haven't canceled any of that. Matter of fact, we don't go through and cancel ship dates until Thursday morning before a Monday ship date and Friday morning before a Tuesday ship date, just in case. So even if it doesn't look good, and the pandemic does get worse, and we cancel shipping, our MEPS guidance counselors, and they're in constant communication with the commander and I, we aren't canceling anything until the very last minute. And then if you do have your date canceled, it is not first come, first serve. We don't throw your name in a hat and just shake it up and walk around and have somebody pick a name out of the hat and then it's your time to get renoed. If you were canceled first, your name is at the top of the list and you will be renegotiated to get your date taken care of. So I hope that answered your question. Okay, I think we made it to the end of the questions. Let me scroll through this here. Let me see. Okay. Nope. Okay. Looks like we're caught up there. So I see somebody typing a message. My son completed basic, but let's get that back in. I'm going to look here too. When you finish that sentence, I'll answer your question. Okay, so question I took right here offline. Once our soldiers are completed in training, are they being sent home? Okay, so they are. One of the first words that we received when some of the larger states with the larger concentrations of infected population, the first word that we got, and it kind of lasted probably 4 or 5 days, was shelter in place at the basic training and AIT sites, and they're not coming home. They're not going to get on the plane. And then we started to see people trickle in, and we weren't really seeing the communication. And it's really how fast this thing is evolving. So the short answer is that if you complete basic training and you are a split option, meaning in one summer you're supposed to go to basic, come back, finish a year of school. Next summer you go to AIT. Then after basic training, they're going to put you on a plane and they're going to send you home. But if you completed basic training in AIT, basically the short answer is they're not going to hold you. So they're going to send you home, and then you're going to go through the process that we just detailed earlier. So, okay, so sorry, my son completed basic but hasn't completed AIT. He's supposed to ship this summer. Is he eligible to be activated with the unit he is attached to? So the short answer is no, he's not. He belongs to RSP. Upon completion of AIT, that is what basically all the components consider a full soldier. Like right now you'll hear the term warrior. They come to RSP and they're warriors. When they join, they go to basic training in AIT and they come home soldiers. So when your future soldier comes back from basic and AIT, then he'll be completely qualified to volunteer if he needed to be. So next question, will they be able to do a straight through ticket if the original plan was split option and it was canceled? So the short answer to that is yes, they will, but what they put out on Monday may not be what they put out on Thursday. So every command team in recruiting and retention is gathering all the data that they're getting from all their recruiting and retention NCOs nationwide. So what that looks like is there's about 3,600 non-commissioned officers that are sending up their requests for information to their command teams, and their command teams are wrapping it all up into this package, and then we see it like 3 times a week with all these questions that need to be answered. And by Friday, National Guard bureaus answered all those questions, and we get a blank sheet that comes out again, and we go through the whole process again. So currently, your renegotiation, if you were a split option and now you don't need to be split option, and those issues don't exist, meaning high school, college, and you want to go straight through, absolutely, you can be renegotiated for a straight through ticket. That's currently. So again, that may change, but they are authorizing that right now. I was unable to complete last drill's credit. Will this month be a completely different process to get credit? So it will. And I think it looks like one of our recruiters, Staff Sergeant Gango, said that he's going to reach out directly and talk to you. I'm going to answer that loosely, but I think what's important here is Staff Sergeant Gango is the guy that's on the ground with you, that you remain in contact with on a regular basis. So what he tells you is really what you need to go with. But so the loose answer here is going to be, it is going to be a completely different process. You know, one of the things that was dropped on us before drill weekend was how do we reach out and perform drills with our soldiers. So what we came up with was, you know, it is what it is. You guys are stuck at home. We can't have you assemble anywhere. We can't go perform drill. It's just not safe, and we're not supposed to do it. But we can block out a couple periods of time on the Saturday of drill, and we can go through and we can do red phase and white phase training. And we are considering doing 3 blocks of time, doing red phase and white phase training. And we'll have three times that you can click in. We'll have instructors on there all 3 times, and you can get credit for keeping up with your red phase skills, keeping up with your white phase tasks. And then the other thing that you would do to get the remaining credit for that drill weekend would be, we're always recruiting, always be recruiting, right? It's kind of our selling point is always be closing. So that's where we lean heavily on you as the brand new soldiers is, hey, who do you know that's interested in joining? So we'll reach out to you and we'll ask you to perform a social media post, give us an idea, maybe provide a referral, get on a 3-way conversation with you and a friend and a recruiter. And that's going to be how we get additional credit on a Saturday for drill weekend. Do what we can, right? Again, looks like Staff Sergeant Gango is going to be replying to you, and take all directions from him. Okay, the next one. I haven't received my orders, and I'm supposed to ship on the 21st of April. When should I receive my orders, or how does that affect me? Okay, so 72 hours before the 21st of April, we will know if we can ship you or if we cannot ship you. It's ever evolving. Nothing we can do about it. They may come out, midway through the month and just cancel all shipping until May, or they may turn it all back on. We don't know how it's going to work, and I think I'd probably be remiss if I gave you bad information now. So, but I do know that if the 21st falls on a Monday, then Thursday at 6 a.m. we will know if we can ship you or not. If the 21st of April, and I don't have a calendar up, if that falls on a Tuesday, then we'll know at 6 a.m. on Friday if we can ship you. So, and that RSP NCO will be in contact with you when it comes to shipping. Everything's last minute, but this is really a different time. So hopefully that answers your question, Mason. What other questions do we have? Okay, I'm scrolling through here. Okay, so just had a question about nationwide quarantine. So basically, is the National Guard supporting a nationwide quarantine? The answer is no. I think I've been sent 4 times now this last week some flyer that was created online, specifically telling people, hey, get your toilet paper, get your ramens, grab a bag of potatoes, dig a foxhole, it's going down. It's not happening. So, and I'll tell you that the 4-star general at National Guard Bureau basically says there's been no such discussion, and That's not in the works. This is not a plan. And for Idaho, that's absolutely not. There's not going to be any, mandatory quarantine, lockdown at the state level, or in those discussions have not taken place involving the National Guard at the national level either. So, but I'm sure you've seen them. I've been on social media and I've seen them, and oftentimes those things aren't even worth addressing. Just because you read it on Facebook, it must be true, right? Well, it absolutely isn't in this case. So, what other questions do we got? All right, so I'm pretty sure the commander's still watching. I think there was a couple things that he may or may not wanted to have put out. I'm going to give him an opportunity to send a message again. Tempted to do the split screen thing here. As you can tell, wherever that's at, he's not right here on the screen. So, okay. Okay, that was the end of the question. I'm not seeing anything pop up from the commander either. So what we're not going to do is I'm not going to sit here, just kind of dead silence. I covered all the pertinent information. Roger that, sir. Covered all the pertinent information. Thank you very much. So, okay, so we're going to end this Facebook Live. I'm going to reiterate a couple of points that we discussed earlier. If you got questions, RSP families, current soldiers, people interested in the Idaho Army National Guard, there's no time better than right now to get your questions answered, because every recruiter right now is at home in Fort living room, sitting at their kitchen table, doing whatever they can to make sure that they maintain their distance and follow the stay-at-home order. But they're standing by to answer your questions. We've pushed it out. Any one of our social media platforms, we're available. Send us a message. Most of them link directly to me or the marketing team. If you thumb back through our page a little bit, you'll see the green WhatsApp that comes directly to my phone. If you want to hear it from me, send me a direct message on WhatsApp, and we'll get your questions answered. So we owe you some fairly transparent and clear and concise communication, and I assure you we're making every effort to guarantee that that's happening. But with so much information coming from all different sides, sometimes things get lost in the translation a little bit. So just because you send us a message doesn't mean that you immediately want to enlist, and we don't make that assumption. So, but anyway, if you got questions, send them. On this post here, when this is done, if you want us to do this Facebook Live, if there's families that couldn't click in, send us a message. Tell us what time would work for you. We'll compile the information, and if we have to, we'll do it again. All right? So I appreciate you guys joining. Looks like we had 55, 60 people on there the entire time. It was good. All right. Have a good day.